covering all 4 major sports in the District of Champions. It's the DC Crossover Podcast with your hosts, Mike Cerrone and Ben Simpson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DC Crossover, episode 145. I am Ben Simpson. That is Mike Cerrone. Glad to have you with us for yet another installment of the program. You can catch the show in a variety of ways. Of course, on Twitter at the DC Crossover and at Cerrone16. And then on TikTok, DC Crossover Podcast on the talk, as well as YouTube. We do have the show posted up on YouTube, DC Crossover Podcast there. As we steadily approach the start of baseball season as well as March Madness. Of course, locally here, my George Mason Patriots will have the 5 seed for the A10 tourney. So they'll be playing on Wednesday this week. So I am definitely going to be tuning into that and all the conference tournaments going on as March Madness is almost here, man. I mean, I would say, March Madness is always one of, it doesn't even matter how much college basketball you watch during the season. Because, with college hoops, there's so many games going on all the time. So it can be tough to follow everybody, but there is nothing quite like the first couple days of March Madness where there's games tipping off like every 15 minutes or so. And you get that one part where it's like you're watching a buzzer beater to end this game, then you switch over to that game and that game's close. And the way all the apps work now is they let you do multi-screens and things like that for the games. And I mean, I remember in school, like back in high school and things like that, I remember having my phone and be following the games, having the phone like hidden in the desk and watching some of those like 1 o'clock tips and things that. Because I mean, well, that's what it's. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like those first 2 days. I mean, the rest of the tournament's great, but those first 2 days where it's just nonstop games. The field's still at now 68 teams, I guess, but where there's just games going off nonstop all day long from the afternoon all the way up to like midnight. It's crazy, but it's the best. It's a sports fan's dream is those first couple days.
Right. So going back with what you were mentioning is we're going to hold off on the money line. I know everyone loves the money line, but we're going to hold off on that until March Madness starts, which is probably going to be might be by next episode, I think, actually. Maybe.
Well, they got to do Selection Sunday and such. So they're going to finish up the conference tournaments. I believe Selection Sunday will be next Sunday, and then the tourney will be starting not soon after that. So, or pretty soon after that. So I think we're definitely going to be giving some picks for that for sure.
Right. So that's going to be crazy. Yeah, I remember over the
March 14th looks like tournament begins. I think they probably do that first 4 or whatever the day before.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it will be on. March 14th.
It should be next Tuesday. So it should be. But I mean, that's the funny thing is I remember over the last few years getting a secondary monitor and putting it in my office. Yeah. And while I'm teaching, I usually just like kind of poke my head in there and kind of see what the games are like and whatnot. And obviously you got to throw your cash. While you're working, you got to throw your cash around because obviously, like you said, the game started at noon and you're sitting there and you're just like, I got to know what's going on. And I love the whole entire fact, like you said, where they do the multi-screens where you can have like 3 games going on at once. Oh, yeah. That's always fun. But I think the best thing is when you're watching a game and then all of a sudden you see like the ticker on the top where it just sits there and says like, oh, yeah, this game is this score or whatever. And you're like, oh, yeah, damn, I got to switch over to that game now.
And it's always like, you got – it's usually like 4 different channels going, like True TV. It's channels you never would watch, like True TV. Right. I think the only thing on True TV is Impractical Jokers and like nothing else. And so there's like weird channels like that. And then you just, you flip around. So the first 4 games will be the March 14th and 15th. And then the actual official first round of play will be March 16th and 17th. So it is coming up with those first 4 games being 9 days away. We're right there.
I want to say one thing real quick as you know, I'm coaching baseball and whatnot. And of course, the podcast came up and one of our former bosses who is coaching alongside with me, the kids asked him, because they knew that he knew me prior what the podcast was. And he was like, he's not a listener, obviously.
Right, yeah, why would
he could care less. He's like, I don't know, DC something. I was like, dude, and he started laughing when he was saying. I said, why are you telling them this? Like, I don't want to know. I don't want them to know what's going on.
No.
And because I don't want them to go and listen to it and then all of a sudden start like throwing shade and saying like, man, you guys suck.
1-star reviews.
Yeah, 1-star reviews and all this kind of stuff. I mean, like the Predators can only do so much for us on YouTube, to the point where if I have a whole entire baseball team going there and like basically, saying like these guys blow and all these, it's like, so I need to make sure that this stays hidden. I told them I'd tell them at the end of the season, but I'm hoping they forget.
So I mean, that's the thing. You got to remember, these are high school kids. Like, they're not going to remember anything. So they're not going to be able to find, they're not going to find this. And even if they do, yeah, like you said, hopefully they just. Oh, by the way, the Predators, I guess, changed their profile to where it's an actual name. So it's this guy's name, and I'm not like,
oh boy,
I'm not putting him on blast because like that's what his name is on his own account. Will Easton apparently is the Predators. So
Will Easton,
and he has 32 subscribers and no video. So I don't understand. But this is a guy
really familiar.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go on Facebook and see if I know this guy. That sounds like a really familiar name.
Yeah, you should look him up because I don't know, but he and for those who are just joining, this is a guy who's like left a bunch of different comments over the months, saying like nice work and nice and things like that. I mean, super great, super nice thing for him to do. But it's like we've always wondered like who the heck is this guy? Because I mean nobody watches this show.
Will Easton, here's a musician and he
Eastin.
Oh, Tin.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Will Easton. I mean, now we're just. I mean, again, his name is on his profile, so I'm not like giving it out when I shouldn't. But yeah, but he's an Asheville guy because he's a Predators.
there. Will. That's Will Eastman. I mean,
we'll have to do the research on this. We're gonna need somebody on the case because
I didn't know this.
Well, regardless, he's like our number one fan. So
remember when we were doing the drinking show and we had that one girl that was like, "Hey," and we were like,
yeah, that was
I thought it was your friend, and then you thought it was my friend, and we were like, we don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
They never responded.
Never responded again. A lot to get to on this episode, by the way. We've got Nats. We're gonna do a little as the regular season is approaching fast. So we will start doing some preview stuff starting today. We'll talk a little bit pitchers preview for the season. Some Caps news and some snacks to try. I'm excited to tell Mike about the snack that I brought. But the
Sultan returns too.
Oh, and the Sultan of Seltzer will be back as well. Oh, I got your theme music at the ready. But I did want to ask about your weekend, your excursions out into the world. Any good food experiences this weekend?
So last night, we ventured out to Fair Oaks, and we went to a place called Breakers. Now, you might have heard of it.
I've heard of Breakers.
And I've heard of it before. I've never been there. And it's Korean barbecue. And this is Jess's first experience doing a Korean barbecue. I've only done it once before. I always had like this one, because I know how to cook, and I know how to grill and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing about going to a Korean barbecue place is you're always a little worried, a little tentative, like, is this really done, or am I going to get food poisoning?
So it's a style where they have the grill like at your table. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So you're always a little worried about that, but it was fun. So
because you're like, I'm not the chef, and but the food is directly in front of you, and I feel like my question for you on this place is. So I've been to Korea. It's been a long time, but when I've been at Korean barbecue places, they will occasionally check in on the meat, but it's not like they're consistently watching it. So like it's almost like it's on you, the customer, to be like,
yep.
Hey, if you feel like it's done and you want to pull it, you pull it. Was it similar at this place?
So I'm gonna get right into it.
Okay, let's do it.
And I literally texted Ben immediately. And mind you, it was about 10 minutes into dinner where I told Jess, I said, I have to text Ben about this. Because it was, oh man. Okay. So we walk in there, right? We get seated. This waiter, his name is Danny. and he sits there, and he literally looks like he just got out of geometry class in 10th grade. The guy looks so young, and it looks like his first job ever.
Right.
So he asks, of course, the first thing is, can I get you guys something to drink?
Simple, easy question.
Simple, easy, normal starter question. And so she's looking at the menu, and I'm saying, can I get a double rum and diet? And the guy just like looks at me.
Oh no.
And he just looks at me. And then I was like, did you get that? Like, he was like, it was like a staring contest. And he just like looks at me and says, what? And I said, can I get a double rum and diet? And he's like, he kind of like just nods his head. I'm like, okay, whatever. That was kind of odd. So then she says, can I have a Bahama Mama? And the guy was like, okay. So then he goes over, and he's not writing any of this stuff down, by the way.
Yeah, that's always like, nerve-wracking. Like, there's some waiters where you can tell, like, they've been doing this a while. Like, they're going to be able to remember no problem. They might have, like, a memorization system in their head or whatever. But when it's, like, a young guy or girl, and you're like, they're not writing it down. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how hard is it to just carry around the notepad and write down the order? Like, that's not embarrassing. Right. I want you to do that. Like, like.
Mind you, all the waiters and waitresses there were, like, high schoolers. And there was at least 10 of them for like 8 tables. They were just like running around, and it was just it was so chaotic. Meanwhile, you hear in the background, because I mean, I just kept hearing this walkie-talkie and like just yelling in the walkie-talkie. Oh, no. And I'm like, what is going on here? And it was just so chaotic.
This guy's asking for a double rum and diet. I don't know what that
is. So I'm sitting there, and we sat there for about 10 minutes, and then he comes back. And he doesn't have anything in his hands.
Of course.
And I was like, oh boy. And he says, I don't know too much about alcohol. What did you want?
Oh no. Ask the question when you order it. He should ask you, like, if he doesn't know what that is, that's okay. But just ask, be like, what? Yeah. Like, what did you want? Like, I'm not sure what that is. Like, what is he doing?
Right. And it was 10 minutes, dude. 10 minutes.
You know what he did. He walked into the kitchen and just like stood there for 10 minutes, just being like, I don't know what to do.
What did he want? What did he? I forgot what he said. And the funny thing was that she didn't even get her drink. And her drink is like, you go to the bartender and say, "Can I have a Bahama Mama?" or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
It's like mine is more specific, but it's probably one of the most common drinks.
It's not hard to understand what that is.
So I'm sitting there, and I said, "Do you guys have rum?" And he like looked at me again, and we had like another staring contest. And I'm like, dude, what is going on here? And he's looking at me, and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, do you guys have Captain Morgan? And he's like, let me go check. And he goes back and comes back. Meanwhile, she still is waiting for her damn drink.
Also, he's not the one making the drinks, correct? So like, all he has to do is go. Even if he doesn't know what he's saying, all he has to do is say it to the bartender, and the bartender will be like, "Yeah, that's a totally normal order. I can easily make this."
Yeah, I can make that in literally less than 30 seconds. So all of a sudden, he comes back and says, I don't think we have any Captain." And I was like, "Okay." And then she's still waiting for her drink again. So I said, "Well," I look at the menu, and I'm like, "All right, I'll take a Jack and Diet. How about that?"
Yeah.
So he goes back, and he brings 2 drinks. One is a water. It's not a Bahama Mama.
Right.
And the other one is a Diet Coke. And he hands me the Diet Coke and says, "We don't have Jack Daniels."
I mean, what kind of place is this?
I said, so you brought me just the Diet Coke? Like, do you want me to mix it myself? I know I have to do the Korean barbecue bit, but I'm not going to mix a drink.
I wouldn't mind. He brings over a big old handle of Jack Daniels.
Oh, man.
It's like, yeah, I'll take that.
But he says, we don't have any Jack Daniels left. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm like I didn't know what to do. And I was just like so confused. Like, okay,
at that point, you got to just be like, "Give me a Bud Light." Like at that point, you got to just be like, "Give me a beer." Like
so he ends up literally. I don't know how it came up with this cruise in or something like that. Whatever, some type of rum. I don't know what the hell it is.
Okay,
I don't know. They suggested it, or someone suggested it.
It's the only one that he knew.
yeah. And he literally brings it to me. Another 5 minutes goes by.
Where's the Bahama Mama?
I'll tell you that in a second. He brings me that, right? And I think like his mom or someone is like the manager,
Oh god.
and she looks over and says like, "How is everything going?" or something like that. And Jess looks over and says, "Well, I ordered miso soup, and I think I ordered a Bahama Mama a while back." And she was like, "Oh, okay." So she like goes over, and all of a sudden I hear the walkie-talkie in the background. Bahama Mama, right now. And they were like yelling, and I started I was dying. And I was, and she didn't hear it. And I said, "Did you not just hear that lady scream into the walkie-talkie?" And it felt like the walkie-talkie was behind my head. Like I could hear everything that was going on. And all of a sudden, so she goes and grabs the Bahama Mama, brings it back, and says, "Oh, someone must have took the other one." And we were like, "It's been 25 minutes. Like someone must have took the other one." So, of course, this kid literally goes back and then comes back after the Bahama Mama and says, "What kind of meat would you guys like?" And we said, "Well, we'll take this all-you-can-eat thing or whatever, like typically would you get." And we said, "We'll get these two types, and then we'll get fried rice and chicken fried rice." And then he looks at me and says, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Well, we're supposed to order the same thing. That's what it says on the menu. Like you order the same stuff for the table." And I was like, "I'll take the same." And he was like, looks at me, another staring contest for like 17 seconds. And then like, he didn't get what was going on. And we never saw him until the check came the rest of the night. Literally going back to what you said earlier,
right.
The manager lady is basically cooking the food for us. And it was so silent. Because
I hate that.
It was nerve-wracking to me, so I had to keep drinking my some type of mix, whatever the hell they gave me, my Diet Coke. And she's like sitting there just like, cutting all the meat and doing all this. She's like, and
she's furious, like her son's in the back getting beaten to death, like for not bringing the Bahama Mama.
and then she's like, I'm sitting there, and of course they bring you like these sharp scissors that you can cut the meat up with,
right.
Which is fine, okay.
Yeah.
But they didn't give us enough dishes, so I'm sitting there like putting my plate as like all the food's coming on or out of the grill, and I'm putting it on my plate, and then they're just like taking all the dishes and not giving us any more. And all of a sudden, like the one Danny kid ended up coming back and bringing all these small little fixing plates or something, like fixins that have all like, I don't even know, like bean sprouts and all this other
yeah.
I'm like what, like cucumbers. I'm like, he's bringing me all this extra crap, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like the table was full of all those extra fixins, and I'm sitting there trying to cook.
This would have given me an anxiety attack. Like I couldn't have done this.
you would have hated it. I know you would have hated it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like so for a couple of different types of meat, like Jess would pick it up with the tongs and I'd cut it. Pick it up, cut it. And we just tag team it real quick. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing it with my left hand because I have the damn chopsticks in my right hand. And she comes over and looks at me and says, like, "Are you left-handed?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I was like, "What?" Like I'm still cutting the meat. It's not like it's
this is the worst. This is the worst. I hate this. I hate everything.
And she's like, and she's looking and she's like, are you not left-handed? I'm like, "No, I'm just cutting it because I have the chopsticks in my right hand." And she's like, "Okay, I'll do it. You're holding the scissors the wrong way and this." And I'm like, "Okay." Like it's just like she just took the scissors out of my hand, and I'm like, "This is so awkward."
You're like, next time we're going to Outback. Like we're not doing this.
And then the lady looks at Jess and says, like, "Are you left-handed?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm left-handed." She's like, "Oh, that's so neat. That's so awesome." And I'm like, "This is so weird." Like, and then she must have came over.
Pulls out the walkie-talkie, just screams like, "He's not left-handed. He's not left-handed."
And she like cooked the entire meal for us because I think she was so pissed that the guy, her son or nephew or something like that, was literally just screwing up everything. And then meanwhile, we're pretty much full at this point, so we're just like, all right, because the pitchers there were only like $13, which is actually crazy. So we're sitting there and we ended it with a pitcher of Blue Moon, and we're sitting there. And literally, we order the pitcher of Blue Moon, and then the Danny guy just randomly appears again with the check, and we're like, "I guess we're done." And like he just like sat there and just like gave us the check and just walked away. And we're like, "I guess we're paying." So we paid. He grabs the card, goes and swipes it, comes back, and then literally puts it down, walks away, and says, "Have a nice day." And it's like I'm like
Good Lord.
this kid is all over the place.
He's
Like,
got to be, like you said, like he's got to be somebody's kid. Like there's
yeah,
no way that like he went like trained, like he got trained, like
not at all.
0% chance.
Yeah, yeah. And it was just so awkward the entire time. I mean, the first part, the alcohol part was the funniest, but the whole entire time it was just awkward because like when we're putting the meat in the grill, the lady was like, you could just tell the lady had like a telescope from a far distance,
Right.
just watching my every move. Because whenever I grab the tongs to move something, she like was like zipping right over there like a freaking road runner and just grabbing it out of my hand and starts cutting the
And it
meat
makes
up.
you
And she's
feel like you're like that you're either like an idiot or like that you're like a child because like it's like they come over. I mean, and my experience was kind of the same thing where it's like they come over and they're like doing it for you and you're like no I understand how cooking things work, like I don't
right,
I
I can
understand
do
when
it.
the meat is done, but it's such a strange experience. It's such a unique thing. Like there's not many. I mean, because you go to like a hibachi place, like they're cooking it in front of you, but they're clearly cooking it like it's part of the
Right,
experience.
right,
You're not having to be like, all right, let me cut it with scissors. Like it's very different. It's very
right.
different.
It was just odd because like then she was asking like, is this how you guys want it? And I'm like, are you the chef? Like, what is this? Like, it was just so weird.
Yeah, I hate that.
But like
Ugh.
our go-to spot, as you know, is Otani's,
Right.
over there off of 50. And that place is money. Now, yeah, you have some odd characters that go in there to eat. A full family there that's like going. It's like they just won the World Series when the guy does the choo choo train.
Oh yeah,
and all
choo
that kind of
choo.
stuff.
He tosses you a shrimp.
Volcano.
And
Oh
then
man, I'm all about the shrimp, but
yeah.
that's it was just. I mean, it was just. I mean, I've never been to a place where the waiter or waitress just didn't know how to order a drink.
That's insane.
Like you literally looked. He looked at me, like I said, for like 12 seconds or something like that, and was like, what? I
All
was
he
like,
had to do was be like, "Yeah, what did you? I don't understand what that is." Like that's insane. That's
it's
no,
easier
that
to
would,
say it right outright. I mean, come on now.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
wait 10 minutes in the back and like start sweating back there. Like, what did that guy
I
say?
hate it. No, I would lose my mind. At that point I would have been like, we got to get out of here. Like we can't stay here. Like this is well, as soon as I hear the screaming in the walkie-talkie, I'm like, we're out. We're gone. Like I can't die.
I mean,
here.
that was the best part, man. When she was like, "Oh, my mama!" Whoa!
That's just great. I love it. Every time, I mean every week you've got some new just restaurant experience. That's what happens, I guess, when you leave your house. I don't know what that's like. Let's get into some baseball talk here.
The Washington Nationals.
We're going to talk a little Nats here, as I mentioned earlier on. With the season approaching, I mean, the Nats' first opening game is the end of this month, March 30th. So we're 25 days away, a little over 3 weeks away from opening day. And we've talked about on the show how, look, we're not super excited for the Nats this year. They are anticipated to be really, really bad, as we know. But there is, with baseball, it's one of those weird sports where you're like, hey, we got 6 months to go. Yeah, anything can happen, right? Like, hey, maybe they'll come out of the gates and be hot, and then like next, maybe they'll be in the mix. They won't, but we'll just go in with some optimism. So the way we're gonna do these preview episodes here, we're gonna start with the pitchers today. And we're just going to go through, I mean, we're not going to dive into this super deep, but we're just going to go through the projected rotation, talk a little bit about, who we're excited to see, blah, blah, blah. We'll look at the bullpen as well, a little bit here and there. And then obviously, there's some injured guys too. Of course, the main one being Steven Strasburg, when who knows we're going to see him again. But yeah, so the rotation, at least this is the projected starting rotation, and things can obviously change. But right now it's looking at Josiah Gray, Patrick Corbin, Trevor Williams, Cade Cavalli, and Mackenzie Gore. 3 righties, 2 lefties, with Cavalli and Gore being with Gray, Cavalli, and Gore all being 25 and under age-wise. So and Corbin and Williams being kind of the veterans on the squad. So I guess right off the bat, when you look at the young core, those 3, in Gray, Cavalli, and Gore, I guess my first question for you, and I'll give you my thoughts. Of those three, who are you most excited to see pitch this year for a full season in theory, hopefully? I mean, right now, Cavalli and Gore projected to get 23 starts. Josiah Gray projected at 29. I don't really know. Maybe Fangraphs thinks that, Cavalli or Gore might get hurt, or I don't know why the game started projections are lower than like Corbin and Gray or whatever. I guess because those guys are higher in the rotation, I guess. But who of the three between Gray, Cavalli, and Gore, you're like, hey, like this is a guy I'm interested in tuning in this year?
The biggest one that I have, I don't know if it's a soft spot, if you want to call it that. But my biggest thing is when everyone's looking at Mackenzie Gore as being one of the newcomers and Kay Cavalli, who we've talked about now for a couple of years, I'm still hooked on Josiah Gray.
Right.
I'm honestly hooked on him because honestly, we've seen some really good starts from him. Yes, okay, last year his ERA in 28 starts was 5.02, but of course the wheels were just falling off left and right when it comes to the season. But now when you have a nice, I guess you could say a nice outlook of how this season is going to go, they're not going to have a lot of pressure on them because you think about it and say, okay, yes, you want to perform well, you want to go out there and try to win for your team and try to make the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. But right now, we know almost a 99.9 percent chance that we're not going to make the playoffs. So when you're looking at it, that alleviates a lot of pressure from some of these starters. Now, Patrick Corbin, who knows what's going on with that guy? Strasburg, I mean, like you said, who knows when we're going to see him next? But when you're looking at some of these young guys, this is a time that you're going to go out there and be in a developmental season. Yes, Josiah Gray last year, like I said, didn't have the best ERA, and he had a little bit too many walks and different things of that nature. But when you're looking at it, I just think in general, I think his ERA is going to be a lot lower than what people are projecting right now. Fangraphs is projecting his ERA at 4.74, which I don't think it's going to be that high. I think it's more so going to be high threes. Because again, he's a fireball. He can throw it in there pretty quick, and obviously, the faster you throw, the farther it goes when they hit it. As you can see with Scherzer and Strasburg of late. But you're looking at it and just saying that Josiah Gray is one of those guys that we got in a big time trade, and it's one of those guys also that you can look at and say he's going to be a starter for us for the next 5 years at least. So we need to see some improvement from him in a season where the expectations are very, very low. The pressure is very, very low. And a lot of these teams are going to think, oh, it's the Nats. We can easily go win the series 2-1 or whatever that is. So I just think that Josiah Gray, in my opinion, has to show something this year because people just keep overlooking him as well. People think, oh, we got too little for Trey Turner, or we got too little for this guy and Juan Soto and all this. Like, Josiah Gray was supposed to be one of the top prospects, pitching prospects in the entire major leagues a couple years ago. So you're looking at it and saying, this guy is a big-time projection, and we've seen him pitch now for a decent amount of time. But when you're looking at it and you're not going to win, then like I said before, it alleviates that pressure of trying to go out there and shut down teams left and right. You're not expected to make the playoffs. So go out there, pitch your game. If you have a bad game, go talk to the pitching coach, work on some things, do different things left and right. We're going to have a plethora of pitchers, I think, this year starting games for us, kind of like the last couple seasons. So go out there and just fix whatever you need to fix. Use this season as a fixing your mistakes or fixing whatever you want to call it, and make sure that this season is a productive season, not a all-star type season, but you want to make sure it's a productive season. So coming in the next few years, when some of these younger guys that we traded for and so on and so forth are coming up and we actually need you to perform, you already fixed those kinks and all those broken pieces that are in your game. So right now, I think Josiah Gray has to be the answer of who are you most excited to see. And right now, Josiah Gray, for me, is my favorite to watch right now for the pitching.
Yeah, the projections, there's kind of a mix in the different projection models. Most of them have Gray somewhere in that kind of mid-fours type ERA expected. But the one thing that that I like looking at as well is the 3-year projections for guys like Gray. And
right.
Keep in mind too, he's still really young. I mean, 25.
Seriously, yeah.
and he's only has one full season under his belt in the majors. So 28 starts last year. So I think, when you look at the projections for him over the next few years, and who knows, these are just projections, but they are showing progress. Like right now, Zips has him, going down by, 2025 has a 4.2 ERA, and he's worth a couple wins from a WAR perspective. And I think the long term projections say like, hey, he can be a steady rotation guy for his whole career, and maybe even make an all-star team or two. So he is definitely thought of still having some really solid potential. You mentioned, great fastball, good slider as well. It graded really high, when he was coming out of minor leagues. So yeah, I agree, because Josiah Gray, when you look at this list and like of this rotation, and Josiah Gray is the guy to me where it's like, this is the guy who's could be the anchor for your staff
Right.
for the next, half a decade or more. Because he is still young, but if he can give you full season after full season, he can give you, like you said, mid threes or high threes from an ERA standpoint, decent numbers everywhere else. Like that's the type of guy that you would love to have year in and year out on your team. And so I think, Cade Cavalli, we don't know what we're going to get from him yet. He only really pitched in, I think, one game in the majors last year, and everything else was in the minors. He's projected to do even better than Josiah Gray in his first MLB season this year. He's projected at 4.38 ERA in 23 starts. He did have some good stats in the minors. So well, that's all to be determined, because we haven't seen a full season from Cavalli. We have seen a full season from Gray. Mackenzie Gore, kind of a similar boat, where this is a guy who's banged up a bit. He has pitched in the majors, but he was banged up a bit last year and dealing with injuries and things like that. Projections look kindly on him as well, 4.25 ERA. Right now, he's projected to have the lowest ERA of the staff, of the starting five guys. Nice to have a lefty in there as well, especially young lefty. He's the youngest on this staff at exactly 24 years old. But I'm with you. I think when it comes to this group, Josiah Gray is the guy where you're like, he could be the face of this pitching staff. For moving forward, of course, if Steven Strasburg ever comes back, that's obviously different. Trevor Williams is a guy on this list. He was a free agent sign. I think it's like a short contract. He's basically here for like, hey, kick the tires. Give this team some innings. If he does anything halfway decent, they'll flip him at the deadline, sort of thing. And then Corbin, we're just kind of locked into for forever. It seems like because
you just have to use this season, like I said,
as
a productive developmental season, because again, we don't think this season is going to go anywhere. I don't think anyone does.
Right.
So if you're, if you don't have your head so far up your ass that you can be a realist in this sense, I mean, go out there and just pitch. Use this as like scrimmages, because honestly, who cares if you go out there and you lose, 115 games?
Yeah, everyone expects you to. Everyone is expecting this team to have one of the worst records in baseball. It's going to be like them in Pittsburgh. It's
right. And think about it. If we already have the second overall pick coming up, so you think about it and say, okay, well, if we lose a lot of games again, then we're going to have that once again a nice high pick. And then you just revamp. This is exactly what we did with Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper. And look how many years we were in the NLDS or whatever it may be. I think it was like, 5 years out of 7 seasons or something of that nature. So you're just looking at it and saying that when you revamp and you don't have the money like the Yankees or the Dodgers, and you can just buy players, you have to do that. And right now, that's what we're doing, because who knows what the ownership situation is going to be here in the next 2 years or something like that. So honestly, if you get another a high pick, and you have a low season and just develop these guys, I mean, again, yes, it sucks to lose. Everyone knows it sucks. It's terrible. We don't want to watch baseball like that. But again, I think we said it last year. This is a season where guys like us who love to watch the development of CJ Abrams or Joey Meneses or whoever it may be, you need to see that this is a positive season for the Nats. It's not just doom and gloom, we're going to suck. No, it's a season where we're going to have multiple guys that are going to go out there and, like I said, use this as like a scrimmage season. Use this as, oh, I'm going to get some time underneath my belt. I'm going to go out there, fix what I need to fix, and make sure I develop as a player and see if I can be here for the future of this team. Because again, we have players like on the starting pitching staff that you mentioned that are new to this team and that are young, and we need to have the number 5. I guess you could say the number 5. What am I trying to think? The number 5
farm system.
Farm system.
Yeah.
I was losing my train of thought there for a second, trying to figure out what I was trying to say. The number 5 farm system, from number 30 or whatever we had to now number 5. We got to show that we can develop those guys,
right,
and make sure that in 2 years, we're back in it. I mean, we're back after it and winning 89, 90 games, 90 plus, whatever it may be, and say, hey, we got one of the youngest systems and the youngest teams out here, and we're going to be like the Rays, and we're going to be like teams like that go out there with all these young guys and just whoop up on these older teams that everyone's just buying nowadays. So I just don't understand the outlook of some certain people. Now, it's a very low percentage of people that are saying like, oh, this is going to suck, and this, yeah, it's going to suck, but you got to look at the bright side at some point.
Yeah, no, you do. You have to figure out what, and like, look, like there are certain guys here that Patrick Corbin's not going to get worse than last year. 6.31 ERA.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that was a career worst. He had steadily been getting worse since 2019, where that 2019 season he was great. Everything else, he was 466 the year after that, 582 in 2021, and then 631 last year. You got to think at some point he's going to be able to turn the corner. He's not going to be as bad. Josiah Gray was over a 5 ERA last year. You got to think that he's going to be sub 5. He's going to be somewhere in the 4s, maybe even in the 3s, like you said. So there are some guys here where. And a guy like Cade Cavalli, he may struggle. He might not have a great season, but you don't expect that out of a 24-year-old who's making his first full season. So I think there's going to be some moments here, but I also expect things to be, and this may be just hopeful, but I feel like it can't get worse. Like I feel like, again, Corbin and Gray will have better seasons than they did last year. So that will be a bright spot. Cavalli will be fun to watch because he is young and we've heard about him for years and years and years now. Mm-hmm. And then Mackenzie Gore, that's a big question mark because playing in the West Coast, a lot of Nats fans probably really didn't get to see Mackenzie Gore pitch much at all when he was pitching in San Diego.
Exciting question.
Exactly. And like he could be what we hoped Patrick Corbin would still be at this point. But he's young. He's only 24 too. So there's a lot to like there. So we'll see there. And then the other thing on the pitching side is the bullpen is not that bad. I mean, when you go back to the 2022 stats and I'm looking through and I'm seeing guys like Kyle Finnegan, who's been on this staff for, I think, 3 years now. I mean, 3.51 ERA last year in 2022. That's a pretty solid, darn solid ERA. Carl Edwards Jr. had a 2.76 ERA last year out of the bullpen. Hunter Harvey, 2.52. Erasmo Ramirez 2.92, Paulo Espino 4.84, but he was usually a mop-up guy. Like they usually would throw him out there when Corbin gave up 7 runs in the first couple innings, and then Espino would have to pitch the next 5. So, but in general, this team did not have a bad bullpen staff last year, and so there's a bright spot if we're looking at some of these. It is that like, hey, the pen is not terrible in theory, and the starting staff, there are some bright spots here. What if Cade Cavalli is a rookie of the year, and what if Josiah Gray is able to turn the corner? Maybe he is able to locate his fastball better and not give up home runs every first inning. What if Corbin refines the form that he had 3 years ago? There are some what ifs here that the optimists in us are saying, look, we're not saying World Series or anything, but who knows? With these extra wild card spots and things like that, I know the division is really, really strong, so that's going to make it tough. But now with the new balanced schedule, you're not playing your division as much as you have in years past because now the way the schedule is, you're playing every single team in the league twice. And so there may be some opportunities here where maybe the Nats can make some noise, and if not, then it's okay to be bad because you can get another good pick. But Finnegan is a bright spot on this staff. There's some guys here that we're interested to see that we've just gotten. Alex Colomé was a free agent signing from Colorado. We don't really know what we're going to get there. So yeah. And then there's like a Rule 5 guy here and Thaddeus Ward. But And then Strasburg is a big question mark. That's the thing. It's like, what are we going to get out of this guy? I think the situation is not as dire as some fans are making it sound like. I feel like.
Yeah, I think that honestly, when you're looking at it, I mean, again, we're looking at Fangraphs right now, and Fangraphs has Josiah Gray in the top 100 starting pitchers. Which, if you look at it, I mean, everyone wants to say, "Oh, he's not that great. He's not that great." But again, he's 26 years old, and the guy's going to go out there, or 25 years old, and he's going to go out there and basically develop even more. And if he's only, I mean, the only way he can go is up. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Also, you're looking at it and saying, on this starting rotation, Josiah Gray was the second highest draft pick.
Right.
The second highest draft pick in the entire starting rotation. Patrick Corbin was the worst with the second round, the 80th pick. So you're looking at it and saying that Josiah Gray is not everyone's looking at him as like a Steven Strasburg. Oh, we traded him and we traded for him, and we gotta make sure that he goes out there and pitches a 2.3 ERA and has a million strikeouts and doesn't do anything else wrong. It's like, you have to understand something. This guy again was drafted in the second round. Usually first rounders are the ones that are going to show you that they're Steven Strasburg. Those are the diamonds in the rough. Mackenzie Gore is going to be a guy like that. He was drafted first round, third overall. So you're looking at it and saying, this guy is going to be something. And this guy is already projected as the 125th best starter. And he's only had what? I mean, I don't even know how many starts he's had.
Cup of coffee. I mean, not much.
So when you're looking at, certain pitchers and certain development styles and whatnot, you never know, because certain pitchers also, if you're drafted and then all of a sudden you go into a system that has not a lot of space for you, they're going to keep you in the minors. They're going to keep you down there and develop you and get you more time. But that's why you're looking at teams, players like Mackenzie Gore, who, again, was a very high draft pick. Kate Cavalli, very high draft pick. I mean, those guys are going to develop. And that's what I'm saying, is that this season has to be a season of development. And also, when you're looking at Mike Rizzo, you have to also look at him going into the season saying, similar to what we did last season, but a little bit of a tweak. The tweak is, again, I'm going to keep repeating it. We're going to develop these guys that we've traded for, but then we're also going to try to squeeze out every ounce of orange juice out of the orange of some of these guys to get them and trade them so we can get even more prospects. Because the more prospects you have, the more you can just pick out of a bowl and find one that's going to work. Yes, if you get a bowl of prospects, sure, maybe there might only be 3 or 4 that really, really, really pan out. But you've already had a great start with C.J. Abrams. That guy's going to be a stud. And you already have different guys like we already had before in Luis Garcia. He's going to be a good player, a good solid player for you for years to come. And then not to mention Keibert Ruiz, who was supposed to be one of the best young catchers in the game. Now, he's not an Adley Rutschman, but he's also going to go out there and play up to a standard for a young, talented catcher. So definitely, in my opinion, people just keep, trashing Gray all the time, which pisses me off because, again, this guy wasn't projected to be Nolan Ryan or anything like that. And right now you have people like Fangraphs that are sitting there saying this guy, a top 100 pitcher, starting pitcher, is a pretty damn good pitcher. So I'm tired of people sitting there just trashing him left and right, because if you look at it, if there's 30 plus teams and if you have two or three good pitchers on almost every single staff for the most part, being under in the top 100 is pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's plenty of bright spots here. We'll get into the position players next week as well. There's definitely some excitement around some of these guys too. But yeah, I think we're hopeful. We're hopeful about this staff for sure. Right. Let's skip. We'll get into the Caps recent trades, I think, next week, because we're running a little long. But of course, Caps fans listening to the show, of course, some of these key guys like Lars Eller and Orloff and things like that are now gone. I see on Twitter somebody's been doing, or they've been showing the picture of the 2018 Stanley Cup team, and they've been like graying out all the people that have been leaving, and there's only like something like four members left to that team. It's really getting low, which is sad. And the funny thing is, the Caps are technically, they're still in the race right now. Like, they're one of the 4 teams or so that are still that are right below the 2 wildcard spots. And they still could find a way in, but that's going to be some talk for next week. Let's do a little snack review time.
What the hell is that? mean, it tastes like a stuffing that you'd stick in the arse end of a turkey.
Seafood crepe. Yeah, that's seafood crap.
When you take a bite of that cod, it's almost like you've got a breaded condom in your mouth. It's like it's been left out for days and it's been attacked by cats.
Dry and tasteless.
It's dry, it's... Dry? How dry that is. Bland as anything.
It's just bland.
Bland.
There's no seasoning in there. Everything's bland. Bland. It's bland. Pasta's bland.
I don't even think he likes the water.
Little snack review time, as we like to do on this program. And because you have a snack, right? It's not just the seltzer?
No, I don't have a snack.
I have the snack. Okay, got it.
I have the seltzer. You have the snack.
Got it. I have the snack. You have the seltzer. So this is like a brief snack review here because this is kind of a surprise. So last night I went with the Papa when it comes to dinner pizza. I did the little Papa John's order last night.
You gotta get the extra sauce, by the way. The extra sauce.
Oh,
from
I
Papa
did.
John's.
No. Are you talking to a rookie here? What am I? What
Makes me want to take my clothes off.
Yeah. No.
That's my new line.
I'd
for
like
every
to do some
episode.
nasty things with that sauce. No. I get the extra sauce for sure. I did last night. So, and I was starving because I didn't really eat much of a lunch. So I was like, not only did I get the extra sauce, but I also ordered like the garlic parm breadsticks or whatever, and then dipping those into the garlic sauce. It's like, those are great. But then what I also noticed on this menu was this item called Oreo Cookie Papa Bites, Michael. They are described as 8 sweet bites of Oreo cookie wrapped in our original fresh dough and drizzled in icing. Baked fresh and served with cream cheese icing dipping sauce on the side. So, this is what this thing looks like.
Wow.
It is dough stuffed with Oreo, and like there's icing on it and everything. I'm showing this to the camera, by the way. So this is another incentive for those to watch on YouTube is to catch this. So,
Or the talk.
Yeah, the talk, DC Crossover Podcast on the talk. So Oreo Cookie Papa Bites, Mike. I'm going to take, I had a bite or two last night. I don't really remember my initial thoughts because I was just scarfing these things down. So I'll give you a good full review here on the show. So I'm gonna take some bites of this and get back to you here.
That honestly looked really good because if it's a soft dough and they got a little bit of icing on there, and then it's kind of like a Oreo creamed filling. Now that's money because anything Oreo, as we've said on this show many, many times, is delectable. I mean, it is just like a godsend. Oreos, I mean, I don't even know what to say about them because, he's showing it to us on the camera again, and it's those things. My God.
Wow.
Again, that's my new phrase for this show is I want to take my clothes off for certain things, and I would for that.
So here's the thing about these filling. It's not just an Oreo icing filling. Like, it is Oreo cookies in here. Like, crumbled up.
Yeah.
And they have this the drizzle on it. I did not bring up the cream cheese icing dipping sauce with me, but I'm sure that would add some to it. I would think this almost tastes to me. It's like a cinnamon roll Oreo type of deal. It doesn't have like the cinnamon flavor or anything, but it's got the dough, it's got the drizzle, and it's got this Oreo in here. This is this is being served at room temperature. I believe when they arrived last night, like they were warm. Like the idea is they're like coming out of the oven or whatever, and then they're ready to go. I almost like it at this temp better than I liked it hot, because when it's hot, it's kind of weird to eat like a hot Oreo in a way. Like I've never had like fried Oreo stuff or whatever. But this is Mike. This is damn good. Like you need to buy one of these.
So it's from Papa, right?
It's from the Papa. Oreo Cookie Papa Bites. And I spotted this because they have this bites section on the menu now where it's not just the Oreos.
Brookie?
These are brand new. So but it's weird. So here's the 3 Papa Bites they have. Oreo, then they have chicken parm Papa Bites, and then they have jalapeno Papa Bites.
The chicken parm, I'd be all over that.
Looks pretty good. The Oreo. So this is brand new. I had not even seen commercials on this, but it says even on the menu it has a little new logo next to it. So I'm telling you, if I had to rate these, I mean, this is probably like 4 or 5. I mean, this is because again, there's chunks of Oreo here. There's the icing. The bread is able to kind of keep it all contained.
Yeah.
And there's even some white, like if you see, it's hard, I'm trying to get my camera to focus, but that white aspect up here, like that's Oreo white, like Oreo cream.
Oh, no way.
In there. That's the
Jeez.
stuff.
Look. Oh, that's stuff.
That's the stuff. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I love the stuff, man. The stuff, especially with one F. When they spell stuff with the incorrect spelling, you know it's going to be good, and that's what it is. I mean, you know what? I would love to try the chicken parm ones, but those are just like that's something that you just eat. You have to have like 1 or 2 before bed, and then you just sleep like a baby.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And like, man, that was so good. And because I was normally my dessert move with Papa John's is the cookie pizza thing where it's like a cookie and it's got this like the 6 individual cookie bites or whatever. That's always money. I have never gotten the double chocolate chip brownie before. That looks like that's on the menu. I've never had that, or the cinnamon pull-aparts. But these Oreo cookie pop-up bites, 4.5 out of 10. Unbelievable.
Dude, I'm telling you right now that I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Okay, I held it in.
Unbelievable.
So I have to tell you one thing. My mom ended up making like cinnamon pull-apart bread or something like that. And dude, it was like having a cinnamon roll with extra cinnamon whatever on it or something of that nature, whatever the hell it's called. And dude, that I didn't tell my mom how I had to ask her how to make it. Because then I'm going to tell you, dude, it was cinnamon and bread for some reason just like is like the greatest thing on the earth. it was like a cinnamon roll. Like imagine having a Cinnabon and like when you like if you peel apart a Cinnabon that's like it's wrapped around, like the inside is like the gooey cinnamon thing, whatever. It was like that, and it was all over. And I was like, this is money. And I just sat there and just started eating it. And this was like 2 weeks ago. I sat there and just ate half of it, and I felt like a fat turd. Well, because it was
yeah, but you're probably a happy fat turd, that's for sure.
Oh, it was. I was.
Well, let's get the Sultan out of here. I mean, out here, because it's not just all about snacks on this show. It's also about drinks, and the Sultan of Seltzer has done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 reviews of seltzers on this show. The number 1 rated seltzer is the Wild Basin Black Raspberry at 8.4 out of 10. And the lowest rated is the White Claw Passion Fruit at 4.1. And then everything else in between. Truly Kiwi Mojito Style, Smirnoff Pink Lemonade, Three Birds Hard Seltzer Mango, Truly Classic Lime Margarita. That's one of my favorites. I had that today. Sonic Hard Seltzer Mango Guava, Brilliant Hard Seltzer Mojito, and Vizzy Lemonade Hard Seltzer Strawberry Lemonade. What do we have in store today, Sultan?
The Sultan has returned. The Sultan has been kind of taking a breather for about, I don't know, what was it, about a month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah. Well, now that the weather's getting nicer, it's hard to be the Sultan of Seltzer in the winter,
Yeah. There's no Sultan.
The Sultan's hibernating.
I mean, when you watch the movie Aladdin and he's a Sultan or somebody in there's a Sultan, Jafar or something like that, you don't see any snow.
Yeah, there's no sno. Yeah, exactly. The carpet would fall out of the sky if it was snowing.
Yeah, it'd be too heavy.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The Sultan of Seltzer is going to review the Crook and Marker Organic Super Grain Alcohol Margarita Classic Lime. There's a lot of words on here. Classic Lime flavor made with tequila, and it's organic. Apparently,
that's my first critique. Is they gotta get some of these words they gotta condense this down.
Yeah, because obviously it says Crook and Marker Margarita.
0 sugar on there.
Yes,
it says wow.
Yes. Oh, whoa! I didn't even see that. Yeah, 0 sugar. Wow. It has a gold top, which is pretty dope.
I like that.
And the can is a little festive, which
that's a good
nice
design. I like the presentation for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I like the Wild Basin Black Raspberry because it looks like a dark Yellowstone. So here we go with a little open. Nice.
I didn't even hear it.
You didn't hear it? Oh man, I put it right next to the mic too.
All right,
well,
it'll come. It'll come through on the recording, I'm sure.
Well, noticing my audio that's sucked ass last whatever. All right, here we go. So here we go.
Give it a
The
little
crooked
sniff.
Marker.
Let me see if you get a little. Yeah,
It does smell like a regular margarita seltzer.
I like that.
Okay. All right, let's take a little sip of the gold. I love the gold top.
He's gonna take a sip here of the Crook and Marker Margarita Classic Lime.
That's a weird type of liquid.
Ooh, the face was not.
Let's say it's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay.
Wait, like it didn't taste like. I guess maybe it's not because it's not as cold. But like it was like, I don't know. Let me do.
And it's supposed to be like, wasn't it like all natural or something? Like what is?
Yeah, it's USDA organic. So it's like you know how like you drink like water or you have a beer or something like that.
Sure.
It's a normal. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's a different type of liquid. Like it's like
okay. Not what you were expecting.
Not what I was. It's like thicker.
Thick water. Okay.
Yeah, thick water. It's actually not bad. Now here's a.
So it's got some texture to it.
Yeah, texture. Here's a knock. 11.5 ounces.
Okay.
Not a fan of that. Yeah, but honestly,
what's the alcohol? On
5.
It?
It's 5.
Okay, 5. Okay.
So if you're trying to feel a little bit better about yourself, 0 sugars.
Mm-hmm.
It has classic flavors. It says on here. It's made with tequila, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
But overall, the Crook and Marker margarita, they also have a mojito, and they also have a different margarita, which I think is strawberry and hibiscus or something.
Oh yeah, that truly has that combination as well. The strawberry hibiscus, that seems to be a thing.
So overall, I have a rating for this. Let me take a sip while we get the drum.
Take another sip and think about this rating here. Oh yeah, I gotta find the drum roll here. Let's go drum roll.
Crook and Marker Margarita Classic Lime is a solid 7.2.
7.2 out of 10. That puts it in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th spot. 5th of the 10. 5 of the 10. So it's like right there in the halfway mark right now. That's not bad. And you would say it's in like the upper half of the.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's on the style of Truly or anything like that.
Sure.
Now, the Kiwi Mojito style poolside pack wasn't that great, but of course the classic lime margarita style was really, really good. That's our second ranked on here, but 7.2 is it's good. Now again, I'm not going to go search it and seek it out, but overall, I mean, it's a solid flavor, and again, 0 sugars for fat people.
Right, we'll take that as a collective, as fat people of America. We'll take that.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just overall. I mean, it's a good flavor. It's like I'm not going to wince at it or say like, oh gosh, I got to really finish this one, because I will say that we tried last night the new White Claw Peach, and I'm not going to put this on here because I already had it, and that one was like a whoa.
Yeah, I'm not a big peach guy. I've never been a fan of the peach flavor in any of the seltzers I've had. So okay. And I mentioned to Mike that I bought the. I highly recommend that Truly Margarita pack too, because that's had a couple of those today. Love them. That pretty much every flavor in that pack is solid. So definitely, and it does. I like when they do have that margarita type flavor to it. So that is a Crook and Marker Margarita Classic Lime, 7.2 out of 10. Not much to say on the final lap today. I mean, the only notes were the Wizards did sign Sydney Kings forward Xavier Crooks, who's the MVP of the Australian Basketball League. He's now signed through next year. This is an undrafted guy. He played at Winthrop and apparently just has been killing it in Australia. So the Wizards throwing a flyer out on this guy. Kitayama did win the Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend, I think by a stroke. And then Jets left tackle Dwayne Brown, the 37-year-old, is going to be returning for his 17th season in the NFL, which is wild. By the way, I think I said this to you over text. Travis Kelce on SNL last night was pretty solid. I go back. You can watch the clips on YouTube for the people at home. Like, you don't have to go watch the whole episode. Like, just search him. And he was in some funny sketches. I had very low expectations for him because I don't really like Travis Kelce that much. He's kind of annoying. Right. So I was like, man, this guy's just kind of a douche. I will say, like, this changed my opinion on him. And I was like, okay, this guy can actually be kind of funny. He can be like, make fun of himself. It seemed like, and his brother, his whole family was there. His brother was there, was in a sketch or two with him, and like
Nice,
it was not
nice.
bad. And look, SNL kind of stinks, but like this episode was actually pretty darn solid. And so I'm just for the sports fans out there with the connection there.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, because Kelsey, yeah, I was like, this guy is such an a-hole, but no, but Kelsey was like, all right, this guy's kind of. He changed my mind, Mike. He changed my mind. Let's get into before we end the show, we'll hit up Mike's Trivia Corner here. Chance for you to play along at home. And feel free to answer the question with your friends.
So, with your friends.
Yeah.
All right. So, the DC sports trivia question of the week. At the 1910 Washington Senators home opener, which sitting U.S. president started the tradition of throwing out the ceremonial first pitch?
This is a problem because I know this. I've seen the picture. I've seen it. Like, hey, this guy was the first one to throw it. Right. I'm also here's another problem. I'm terrible with dates in history. I love history. I'm terrible with knowing like when things actually happened. Like, so this is bad. This is really bad. 1910. Okay.
I will give you a hint and then a question if you'd like. Because again, this is like over 100 years ago.
No, but this is something I should know because again, like being a baseball fan, it's a thing. So you said you have a hint for me?
A hint is think of something that is a classic Nats thing that may involve presidents.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. No, that's smart. And the funny thing is I was thinking. Sorry, I'm just thinking for a second. So I don't. So I understand you're talking about the racing presidents. It's obviously not George Washington. It's not Abraham Lincoln. It's the other. I was thinking it might be Taft. I don't think it's Teddy Roosevelt, but it could be Teddy Roosevelt. I'm not looking at you because I don't want you to give it anything away. Because I feel like the other guys that do the race is Taft and Roosevelt, unless there's another guy in there that I
wasn't there a guy in there for like a season, like William Carver or some crap.
Well, it certainly wasn't William Carver, but I think it was Coolidge might have been in there.
Calvin
Coolidge was in the mix, and it wasn't
whoever the hell that is.
So I feel like it's a 50-50 shot between Taft and Roosevelt. There's really no question to ask you. Because like I think it comes down to those two, and now here's where the issue is now I have to make a pick, and I have a coin flip here.
Stare into my Sultan of
no,
Seltzers.
I'm looking away. I'm thinking.
Big diamond.
Because I'm trying to associate
Ruby.
like who. The reason why I'm leaning towards Taft is because why else would he be part of this group? There doesn't seem to be another reason for him to be part of the racing presidents when those other three are obviously super well-known presidents. Taft seems a little out of the ordinary here, so that is why I'm going to go with Taft as my guess.
William Howard Taft is the correct answer.
Yeah, okay.
Wasn't he the guy that said walk softly and carry a
No, that was Teddy Roosevelt. Roosevelt. So that was the other guy.
Wasn't. He didn't say, Teddy Roosevelt didn't say walk, sparsely and carry a big twig.
Yeah, walk.
Google it.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt quote: "Walk softly and carry a big stick." Yeah. No, that was him. That was his foreign policy: speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far. Yeah, no, but so Taft was the one that I feel like
policy.
I feel like Taft was the one that died in like the tub, unless like he was really
he drowned
fat?
or something. He couldn't get out.
Wasn't he really fat?
Yeah, he was a fatty.
I feel like declining
Glasses.
health. Yeah, he was the heaviest president, 5'11", and his weight peaked at 340 towards the end of his presidency.
340.
340. It's like, oh, that was his peak, huh? Okay.
There's a lot more fat people
like,
out there
that's,
today.
That's my goal weight. No, I think. So yeah, he died of like heart disease and all this stuff. He lived to be 72 though, which is kind of long for a guy like in the 20s who's like 400 pounds. But yeah, so Taft, it was Taft. Okay, whew, I'm so glad I got that right. Just because like The logic was sound, though. It's like, why would he be in the mix with those guys?
All right, now on to foreign policy.
Yeah, now let's get into our second half of the show. We're talking all things Joe Biden. No. All right, that about does it for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. This is kind of going to be the thing here. A little more laid back now with NFL season gone. Hockey,
a lot of drinking and a lot of eating.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, hockey and NBA are obviously progressing towards their end. There's almost 20 games left, basically, in those seasons. And then March Madness coming up, baseball coming up. So still plenty of sports going on, but we'll definitely be doing the off season coming up for sure because we got to get some drafts going. Besides that, people, follow us on social media at the DC Crossover Nets Run 16 on YouTube and on TikTok, DC Crossover Podcast. We will see you all next week. John Z, take us out.